Hi, I'm Michael Purdy. You're with us at worldppg.com, and with us is our favorite son, returned from the glorious gladiator wars of Europe. And Jeff, welcome back, and huge congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. I didn't think of it as gladiator wars, but every now and then I do think there was a sword being tossed my way.
Yeah, what a great thing.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened. First of all, let's back up a second. What is the event? Sponsored by who? Let's get the basic stuff out of the way first, and then we'll get to the fun part.
This is the Olympics of Air Sports. The World Air Games run this year in Turin, Italy. The Federation Aeronautique Internationale, FAI, runs this about every 4 years, I think, pretty much like the Olympics. And what an extravaganza. They gather up the top 20 or so pilots in each of 8 disciplines or so, everything from paragliding, acro, to helicopter flying, including paramotors. They run about 5 days of competitions, and that goes into qualifier or into finals, and then narrows it down to the top 3 and presents gold, silver, and bronze medals to the winners.
Right.
In our case, we had quite an amazing array of very capable pilots. The most amazing to watch was a fellow by the name of Matthew Rowanay, and anybody who's in paramotoring knows this guy from his frequent wins in various competitions. But to watch him fly is to know why he wins.
Really? Tell us about
that. He can do, a lot of people can do steep. A lot of people can do acro. He does steep. He does acro, but he does it with great precision. Right. He'll do like a skydiver does a swoop, which is where you basically do a really steep bank so that you're pointed right at the ground, and then as you come out and level out, you're over your target. He's got that down to a fine science.
And you don't want to miss out on that one. If you're too low, it's not a pretty thing.
No, it's fatal. In fact, it's very undesirable. Right. Skydivers, I think they call it bouncing, but that's like when the parachute doesn't open. So what this guy is flying a 15 square meter flat wing.
Wow.
That means that it's around 13 square meters projected. So now, that is not a panacea to win competitions, because in most hands, that'll get you hurt, flying a really, really tiny wing like that.
But
takes a lot of power, too.
This is one of those things, don't try this at home.
Don't try this at home. Just because Matthew Rowanay can make that wing do exactly what it needs to, doesn't mean that everybody can. So anyway, this thing is all about precision flying and consistency. We did 3 tasks: the cloverleaf, dragon tail chase, and basketball slalom. The basketball slalom turns out to be the most important because it represents the most seconds. Everything goes by time. Your total time adds up at the end, and they took the top 8 pilots at the end of running those 3 tasks, and then they went into a final round, an elimination round of cloverleafs.
And that included you, by the way. You were in the hunt.
Amazingly enough, it was at the last task where I did well. I actually, after watching so many people mess up this task, I decided, I don't know why everybody's messing up, but I'm going to beg off trying to do it real fast and just make sure I do it real accurate.
Right. And
so I caught the ribbon, and I made a good spot landing, but I didn't nail the ball. I think I could have nailed the ball, but we did it at 10:30 a.m. So it was bouncy. We were coming. Yeah, it was getting rowdy. And in fact, the way that worked is you would take off, climb up to several hundred feet, stream your ribbon, let it go, and then circle around and catch it. Climb up, get to at least 500 feet, enough altitude to have a minute worth of glide, shut off your motor, and then glide down for your landing. Well, I found a thermal, and I got to tell you, that was magical. That flight was magical because there's really no stress, especially once you got the ribbon, but even before that, there was no time pressure. You just climbed up, shut off the motor, glided down, and landed, and you couldn't go over 8 minutes.
Right.
But It was so beautiful. A dark blue sky, sunshine, and the entirety of Turin, Italy, this ancient town that looks like it came out of a postcard, sprawling in front of you and all around. It was just fabulous.
All right.
That was one of the highlights.
All right, we got about 4 minutes, so let's cut to the chase and how the rest of it went and what you ultimately ended up with.
The Cloverleaf, there was some excitement because the first day we didn't get started on time, but when we did finally get started on the evening, I think Monday, 8 rounds. They had 22 pilots and 11 rounds. And the first 8 ran uneventfully, and on round 9 or maybe 10, I think I was 10, I launched. And just after I launched, I was going for the ball, and so was my race mate. Now, they run these 2 at a time on 2 different courses, and we were both going for the ball. He had chosen to do it downwind, which would be good for his time if he made it, but a lot harder to pick up the ball going downwind. I chose to play it safe and went into the wind. Well, just at that time, the wind dramatically increased. A gust front came through. I got blown above the ball because I was right on it, and he got whacked into the ground because the gust front hit him from behind. He didn't get hurt. He didn't hurt his gear, but he would be out. Matthew Rowanay, after this was all said and done, I went ahead and actually finished my round. I had otherwise a perfect round, but my time was huge because when you're fighting the wind. So that was the first one. Matthew Rowanay, I got to tell you, this guy is a sportsman. He is one class act. And when he walks by, he said, we've got to make sure this gets rerun. That was totally unfair because the last 4 guys to go had no chance. The winds came up so strong, their 30-foot pylons were blowing over. It was bad. So we reran.
That's a sportsman because they were his competition, and he was giving them a second chance.
He had already done very well. He had already flown his. Right. Rerunning it again would do him no favors.
Right.
He showed himself that way in another case when, on another round, a pilot's motor wouldn't quit. Or wouldn't start, rather. Matthew came up to him, and a number of people asked him, if they could help. Matthew said, hey, you want to use my motor? Now, mind you, this is the one motor that Matthew has. And this was the European champion. So I asked Matthew about it later. He said, well, it wasn't a risk. I mean, he's a highly skilled pilot. It really wasn't a risk. But I got to tell you, there were 3 crashes out there. These are all high-end pilots. 2 of the crashes happened on non-competition flights. So the competition is a little riskier at this level. I mean, these guys are really going for it, and they're flying small wings, and they're putting everything into it. What I did was I was just basically consistent. I didn't do anything. I didn't try. I didn't push it. I did everything just like I did it in practice and may have begged off a little bit. After that, we did a cloverleaf, and my concentration was on doing it right, doing it as fast as I could, just like I did it in practice, but making sure I didn't miss anything. And then we did the dragon tail chase, and I did that well. Over half the people missed the tail, the ribbon, and so that is what thrust me into 7th place and how I wound up in the final elimination.
All right, Jeff, we got to take a really fast break. I know you're on a time schedule. You have another radio show to do, but hang on. We're going to take a quick break. I'm Michael Purdy. You're at worldppg.com. We'll be right back.